Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome yet again to this very episode of Lunch Guide. My name is Chef Andy, and today I'm going to be showing you something part and parcel of the many episodes that we're going to be showing you 10 ways with rice. And on this particular episode, we're going to be doing something very Asian. We're going to be making a beautiful Korean stir-fried beef, and we're going to be adding some rice to that. But before we start, I'm going to take the first step of introducing the ingredients we'll be working with today. So from the very front, I've got some white rice, which is already steamed. I've got some beautiful broccoli there and a nice beautiful chunk of beef fillet. I've also got some vinegar, one small cube of beef stock. I've also got some garlic, a bit of teriyaki sauce and some soy sauce. I've also got a bit of some sesame seeds, some leeks there, a bit of salt, some black peppercorns which we're going to be crushing as well, a bit of oil for cooking, some spring onions. And that is all you're going to need for this particular recipe. So if you're going to be taking notes, this is your chance to grab your pens and papers. And when we do come back, we're gonna go just into this very simple technique. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just tuning in, we were just introducing a very simple dish we'll be doing today, which is a Korean beef stir fry with rice, and we're just going to go straight into it. So very firstly, begin by reheating your pan and just give your pan just a few seconds to heat up. And while that continues, proceed to grab your beef fillet and just proceed to start by cleaning your fillet. So very simply, use a sharp knife to try and remove all those bits of fat and sinew, and just set those aside and proceed to cut your beef into some nice 1-inch cube chunks. Of course, making sure to give it quite a bit of chunk while you're cutting that as well. And just proceed to remove any excess fat that you may have on your fillet. And particularly if you can also find fillet for this recipe, you can actually use any particular cut of beef chunk that you may be able to find. Sirloin and rump is also a very good alternative. Right, so once your beef is all chopped up, proceed to grab a bit of oil and begin to pour some into your pan. So giving an allowance of at least a tablespoon extra. Swirl your pan around, and once your oil is hot, proceed to add your beef. And just using a piece of tongs, proceed to just separate your pieces onto the pan. And make sure to also spread them out, which will allow them to cook evenly. Right, so now you're only going to allow that to continue cooking at high heat. But while that continues, you are going to prepare some of your other ingredients which you'll be using for your stir fry. I'm just going to turn the board around. And very easily proceed to first take off the stems from your spring onion, and also just remove the stem bits and proceed to cut those into 1/2-inch rounds. And just proceed to discard the rest. Also to that, you are also going to be incorporating some leeks, so just grab about 1 stalk and proceed to cut that into some half moons. And you can now just leave those aside and just bring your attention back to your beef. Proceeding, of course, to use your tongs to just turn your pieces of beef around. And for this particular stage, you're only looking at sealing your beef. Remember, you are going to also give your beef just a few minutes to rest after the first cooking. And proceed to continue turning your meat around. Of course, taking very much precaution not to overcook your meat first of all, and second of all, making sure to only brown it exactly the same way all around. Right, so at this stage your meat is now nicely perfectly browned. What you're going to do now is turn your heat off completely, and using your tongs proceed to remove the chunks of meat. Of course, placing those onto the pan and just allowing them to cool off slightly at room temperature. While those cool off, we're also just going to continue to use the same pan to do the rest of our stir fry. So very simply, proceed to heat your pan once more and add just a little bit of oil. And to that, you will first of all grab some of your garlic cloves, about 3 or 4 pieces, and proceed to deskin them completely. And you can reserve the rest of your garlic. Now begin by firstly chopping your garlic really coarsely with a sharp knife. Right, so proceed to add your garlic into your hot pan. Of course, using a spoon to mix that together and allowing it to just get really fragrant with the oil. And just as soon as you can start to get that beautiful garlic aroma, proceed to add your onions, both your leeks and your spring onions. And proceed to fry everything together in a hot pan. Of course, being very vigilant, of course, not to overcook your vegetables. Right, so once your onions are just starting to really get fragrant in the pan, proceed once more to reduce your temperature and set your ingredients aside. Remember, you are going to be stir frying this, so you're actually just going to combine these flavors really quickly at the end. So very crucial, always start by cooking your onions, cook your beef as well, give that a bit of time, and now you can just basically allow your pan to reheat for the last and final cooking, which is basically where we are going to be incorporating all the other ingredients. So to that, we're going to grab our rice and our broccoli. And now we're going to start by frying our broccoli first. So a nice dash of olive oil, and add your broccoli into the pan. Toss your pan lightly. And just as soon as your broccoli has just started to really absorb those flavors, proceed to add about half the portion of rice. And add your vegetables as well. And now all you're going to do is proceed to toss everything in the pan together. And of course, going ahead to add your seasoning. So begin with your mixture of soy sauce and teriyaki sauce. So this has been mixed 1 part each. So add those into your pan. You proceed to toss everything together. Proceed also to add some seasoning, so crush some black peppercorns. And of course add to that as well a small pinch of salt for seasoning and for flavor. And now proceed to add just a little bit of your white vinegar. Give your pan a toss. And last and finally, proceed to add your meat. Also, just grab a bit of that beef cube that you had earlier, and very gently using your fingertips, just crumble bits of your stock cube around the pan, and you can reserve the rest. And now proceed to toss everything once more. And now proceed now to lower your temperature. Remember, you are only just refreshing the ingredients, and remember they're already cooked. And now to that, grab a bit of your sesame seeds and sprinkle those right over the top, about a teaspoon. And proceed to toss everything together in the pan. And now all you need to do is give your pan anywhere between 4 to 5 minutes on very low heat to really just heat through. Of course, not forgetting to mix through. And this should actually now come out of the heat anywhere between 3 to 4 minutes from now. But before we take this out, we are going to allow it to continue cooking lightly. And we are also going to take a very short commercial break. But when we do come back, I'll just take some time and clear the station. And when we come back, I'll also give you some small tips and some techniques of plating this very simple dish. So please don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. For those of you who are just tuning in, we have just been finishing our very simple Korean stir fry with rice, and we're just about ready to plate it. So this is now probably cooked now for a total of about 9 to 11 minutes. And as I mentioned, for those of you who are tuning in, very crucial, always cook your meat first and rest it. Allows your meat to really tenderize when you finally finish the dish. And also another thing to remember is always fry your ingredients separately and then mix them right at the very end in a hot pan, and you should actually have a very beautiful and simple stir fry. So now this one's now ready, and we're just going to proceed to plate it. Right, so very simple. Proceed by first of all separating your meat from the rice. Remember, it's always a little easier to serve the biggest chunks towards the very top. So very simply, begin by adding your rice and vegetable mixture at the very bottom. Of course, incorporating some of your beef chunks in there. Right, and simply once more proceed to fill up the rest of your bowl with a bit of that rice. And of course, last but not least, your chunks of beef. Of course, remember, always very important to actually have the most evident piece of, or rather the most evident ingredient in your dish. So as we introduced this earlier, it is a Korean beef, so very important that you actually do see the beef in there. And just a little bit of addition as well, you can actually substitute your broccoli for peppers or any other particular vegetable that will mix in really well. and it actually will make a very, very good substitute. Now to finish our dish off, just use a sharp knife and cut some very, very thin julienne strips of some leeks, and proceed to season those slightly with a bit of salt, and just finish by placing those right over your stir fry. And just last and final, just to serve that, just a little bit of some sesame seeds over the top. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a very, very, very simple Korean stir fry with rice. And it is as simple as that. And I'm sure most of you have actually managed to see something or managed to borrow something from the show today that you can actually incorporate in your very own kitchen. My name is Chef Andy once more. Thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who also missed the introduction, we also did mention that we will be going on Facebook Live for this show, particularly at 1 o'clock today. And until then, can't wait to see you then. And until the next episode, see you soon. God bless and enjoy your lunch break.